On this episode of Delivering Marketing Joy, we talk with Lee Strom from Sanmar about managing a ton of different brands and what it's like to make a difference in business. Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hasseman, and joining me today is an industry leader, a rock star, as I like to say. Lee Strom. He's a VP of Marketing for Sanmar, one of our industry icons. And so, Lee, I know you're busy. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, it's a pleasure, man, and that's way too kind of an intro. I'm just a guy who likes to market product, and I work for a great company to do it for.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So speaking of that great company, right? Sanmar is is such a large company. I'm always blown away by the number of brands that you guys have. What are some challenges of trying to market so many brands in one place?
Yeah, I would say the first challenge is we have close to 25 brands.
Wow.
And when you have that many brands, 6 of those are house brands, then another 10 or so are retail brands, and then we sort of round it out with mill or industry brands. So when you have that many brands, you have that many people asking you, what can I do to have you put my product on the homepage or run an email to support it? So you've got a lot of folks who would love to see you do nothing more than promote their brand every day, all day long.
Right.
And in your heart, you'd love to do it for them. But the truth is, you just know that there's only so many things that you can market, and how do you become at peace with that? So the first thing I'd say you have to do is you got to protect the mothership. I mean, Sanmar is a brand. And at the end of the day, people come to us for more than anything, I would say service and inventory, certainly products, but it's service, inventory, tools to help promote themselves are where they're coming to Sanmar. So I always try to remember I'm looking through the Sanmar lens. I think a good analogy, our neighbors over here are Costco. They live, they're in Issaquah, Sanmar's in Issaquah, Washington. And they have this little bitty brand called Kirkland Signature. And it's, I kid, it's huge. They don't really market that outside the stores. The intent is you can certainly buy a brand name, but they've got a perfectly viable, likable brand that they've developed in-house. And that's sort of, when it comes to our house brands, I try to help the merchants and sales and other people understand, look, we need to make sure that we're talking about Sanmar first, and then let's talk to them about the selections after that. We're blessed with some really great retail brand names like Nike and the North Face, and now we've got Carhartt. We're blessed to have positioning where we can do good, better, best when we talk about our brands with the industry brands and with the retail brands. So I like to first of all just make sure again that we're talking about Sanmar, and then we can get to the level of talking about brands.
No, that's fair, because again, I really have wondered that, because there's a lot going on, and so I think I love that focus on the mothership, because if that doesn't work, then the rest of it falls apart. So, so I've also noticed that you guys really work hard to sort of create good in the business world, and it's something I admire. So can you talk about any of those initiatives and why you guys do that?
Yeah, I will tell you, it wasn't that many years ago that we were in a place where Sanmar just sort of believed in that if you have to talk about yourself, then you're probably not cool. And furthermore, we also we're sort of in that place where generationally, it wasn't something that people did. You just, we're kind of taught to, be humble, and I'm not here to say Sanmar is still not humble, and I firmly know our voice, and we are not a braggart company. But I will say that we've become more comfortable telling our stories, which has been an evolution for us. And it's really been Jeremy Lott who took the mantle from Marty Lott, our owner founder, who opened that door to us talking about the work we do. And Jeremy has been a proponent of the good works that we can enact by the brands that we bring to market. And probably the best example has been Sanmar works heavily with a factory in Honduras to develop our t-shirt programs for the district line as well as the port and company line and other products. And the stories of the good that factory does is really just, it's heartwarming. That factory has an orphanage, it has daycare, it has medical. The factory is run through I'm trying to think of what it's called. It's not cane grass. It's basically powered through naturally grown products. So it's just been an amazing story in terms of how it really has helped lifted up a region and provided a workplace in a part of the country or in the world that really needed it.
Yeah.
To be with you. So I would say that's it's Jeremy being the leader on that. I would say generationally, it's really helped. I can't tell you how many people we produced 2 videos in the last very few years. One was called A T-Shirt Story, which talked about how a T-shirt was made from the very American cotton that started it to the weaving of the fabric to the manufacture of the item, and then finally it gets decorated and ends up outfitting a soccer team. And then we did another one called Global Good, where we talked about the work that was happening in Africa, Honduras, as well as Asia, at factories where our product is manufactured. And we put them up on social sites, and the number of people who have applied for jobs at Sanmar because they've seen those videos and they resonated with, I want to work for a company that makes a positive impact in the industry they work in. It's been tremendous. I really think unknowingly it was a great recruiting tool, Sanmar.
Yeah, it's so interesting, Lee. I mean, I hadn't thought about the recruiting tool, but it makes sense, right? Like, because you were talking about, it's not necessarily about bragging. It's about, I think, what a lot of our end users it's what the stories that people want to hear. And so not that you're trying to create it, it's just what's going on. And so I commend you guys. That's really, really cool. Third question for you.
All right.
As the VP of marketing, it feels like marketing is changing at such a rapid pace. I know you've got your hands on that. So how do you continue to evolve with the latest tools while not losing sight of things that have worked in the past? That's what I always kind of wonder about that, because you've got your new stuff, but you got your old school too. So how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a really good question that all marketers are facing,
right.
And, especially one who by birth date is a boomer,
yeah.
and now the number one generation workforce is millennials, of course, a very different dynamic, and then the Gen Z is right on their heels. And I would say that you evolve or die. That's always part of the truth.
Yeah.
You have to be a great listener, and I think you have to keep your finger on the pulse of what people want. So some good examples, Kirby, would be the catalog. Sanmar is still a company that proudly produces a catalog, and it is a lot of work. And for about 2 weeks after that thing comes out, I hold my breath to go, okay, please God, let there not be errors. We prove the heck out of it, but not prices and style numbers got to be right every time, got to be right. And that catalog, as proud as we are to bring it to market, it's been declining significantly for the last several years. Our web traffic, on the other hand, has been increasing significantly for a lot of years. What it took for Sanmar was a few years ago, again under Jeremy's leadership, we started some infrastructure investments to really shore up our technologies. And it was about a year and a half ago, maybe a little more than that we launched a new platform for Sanmar.com, it just blew the doors off of the opportunities that we then had to start bringing new things to market. I'm really blessed to work with an IT department that doesn't carry an ego. They really are like, hey, let's just find the best solution for what you need to do. If it's third party, let it be third party. If it's something we should, try to develop in-house, let's do that. But we really have taken more time now and developed are developing tools that are just the right solutions based on our conversations with customers, whether we develop them in-house or not.
No, it's totally good. I love the idea that the best marketers are listeners. Because I think that's it. We say that a lot about salespeople, but I think what you just said, it makes a ton of sense because you have to really be paying attention to what the market's telling you. So, well, Lee, thank you so much. You've answered my 3 questions. I give everybody a chance to ask me one question. Do you have one for me?
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. So Kirby, one of the things that is always I think interesting is to hear when somebody in our industry is asked, when you're talking to your mom, when you're talking to somebody at a dinner party or outside the industry, when you explain to them what it is you do and you explain to them who the industry is that you work for, what's your 1 to 2 line of what it is?
So this is a great question, by the way. Because I get the question all the time of like, what do you tell people, like from a business perspective? Like if somebody is a prospect, what would I tell them? That's like for me, then I actually say that I'm a marketing company and I lean into the branded merchandise. But if you're saying, how do you describe the industry? Let me ask you a quick follow-up question. How old is the person asking me?
That's fair. Let's just say they're right there at 40 years old.
40 years old. Okay. So then I probably would lean toward talking about branded merchandise. I would talk about, then I would actually go into promotional products. If it was younger than that, and 40 is right about the window where I would actually, I would say I'm in the swag industry if it's younger. And that's actually kind of a border for me because, again, I think it's really easy to just go, oh, well, we do T-shirts and pens and calendars and and I'm not a fan of listing all the things we do. If I'm describing my company, I say we're a marketing company. If I'm describing the industry, I say we do branded merchandise. And I think that usually at least gets the conversation going. But that being said, it's really tough, right? Like it's so tough to because there's such a diverse number of products and services that we all do, and so it's a great question.
Yeah, I like that question because I think a lot of people lead with the pins, mugs, calendars, T-shirts, whatnot, and I try to lead with almost an example where that event, that running event you went to, and you got a T-shirt for that came from our industry. So I try to, and how good that made you feel to be a part of that group and whatnot. So to bring the emotional value up and the why. So
I love it. Well, Lee, thank you so much. Like I said, I know you're a busy guy, and I really appreciate you taking the time. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
You bet, Kirby. It's nice. It was a pleasure to do it.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.